Hi, my name is Nikki and I'm a counsellor and psychotherapist, and I work a lot with teenagers. I'm here to talk to you about some of the issues that you might find that you're dealing with as a teenager, and to hopefully give you some tips that might be useful. I'm going to talk to you about how you help someone that you think has got an eating disorder. So probably if you're watching this, there's someone you're concerned about, a friend or maybe family member that's got an eating disorder. But first of all, it's kind of understanding what are the eating disorders. There's three main eating disorders that are talked about. One is anorexia nervosa, which is when somebody undereats. So they eat so little that they send their body into like a semi-starvation state and they become very thin and very ill. They also can have a different idea of their body image, so they can think that they're fat when they're actually really thin. People with anorexia nervosa also can obviously really value thinness. They think that's the kind of goal they want to get to. And to get to that thin state, they might over-exercise or take laxatives to try and not keep any food in. They might limit their food to such a small amount that they become really physically ill, to the point of threatening their own lives. Bulimia nervosa, that refers to, it's often just called bulimia, when somebody eats and then throws up. So it's called purging. So sometimes people can overeat and binge, or other times they'll just eat normal amounts, but they'll throw up straight after they've eaten. And people who have bulimia nervosa also can take laxatives, also might over-exercise, but their weight tends to be more of an average weight, or even people who can be overweight and have bulimia nervosa. The other side, what you'll listen or notice with people that are bulimic is that after eating they'll rush to the toilet, usually to throw it up, or they'll try and be secretive about how they vomit and bring their food up. There's a lot of stigma around eating disorders, so people will mostly cover up the way in which they eat. But if you're a close enough friend, you'll pick up on things, and obviously you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't concerned. The third type of eating disorder is called binge eating disorder, and that's when someone overeats. They binge, they buy loads of food, or they get loads of food and they just stuff themselves to the point of really feeling ill. They can actually be ill from eating so much. Sometimes people vomit with this, but other times they might just overeat. There are other types of eating disorder that aren't as specific as this. Things like fad eating, where people only eat, let's say, green foods. But there's a number of types of eating disorders, but they're the main ones. And if you want to learn more, do some research. Go online, speak to a GP or a nurse or an eating disorder specialist, and find out a bit more about the signs and symptoms of each of the eating disorders. But the other thing that's most important is talking to your friend, or talking to the person that you're concerned about. So speak to them about your problems, not your problems, your worries about them. So speak to them about your worries about them, and let them know what you're concerned about, that you've noticed that they've got thin, or that you've noticed that they seem obsessed with food, or that you think they might be throwing up food after they've eaten, and that you're worried about them. Let them know that you want to support them. And do your research so that you can let them know ways that you could support them best, which is kind of talking to experts. There are a lot of people, whether they're counsellors or they're in the health profession, that will really help people that are suffering from food problems. Part of having any eating disorder is also a psychological problem. So there's always an underlying problem going on for people, and as a result of that problem, the way in which they deal with it is through controlling their eating. So what's important is that you also help your friend to work out and to find a way of resolving the problem that's causing them to overeat or undereat or throw up after they're eating. The most important thing is they've got a good friend like you who cares enough to be concerned about them. And the other thing is that you might be helping them get help at this point now, before their eating problem becomes a really serious issue. So just stay a good friend to them, they're going to need you.